what came to mind for me is so you guys would have probably missed or you guys would have run like the tail end of the Satanic Panic. Like I think it was dying off by the mid 90s or so, but early 90s, late 80s, it was huge. Like everyone was saying Satan was kind of like now it's come back, but how Satan is everywhere. But it had a lot of lasting effects in media critiques in Christian culture, well, independent Christian culture at least. So I thought of 4 things. You guys probably know some more that we were banned from watching, or culturally was just like, no, you can't do this. Dungeons and Dragons was huge, where they thought Dungeons and Dragons was like a literal portal into Hades. Yeah, I never played the game, but I remember having associations with it, like this game is evil. That's how I grew up thinking. Smurfs, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Smurfs, that like Smurfs.
I have a really important one, guys.
What?
I have a really important one I want to tell you.
I think I have it written down. I'll get there, Kayla. Hold on. Just hold on, Kayla. We'll let you go. We'll let you go here. I already know. And so Smurfs was because like Gargamel had a cat named Azrael, and Azrael is the name of like some demon. Like, oh my God, the Smurfs are of the devil. Pokemon was a big one. Like people thought.
Oh yeah, we couldn't even have Pokemon cards.
My mom burned all my Pokemon cards, man.
Oh my God, what? They burned them.
She cut them in half in front of us. Burned a bunch of them in a garbage can.
That's so awful. That's so awful,
be in
man.
My house. I'm sobbing. I'm like, you know how much money I spent on those?
Look, I just thought of another one. This was so. Do you guys remember Garbage Pail Kids? Like they might have been way before your time. Okay, yeah, because I remember being really. I was really little. I know, right? I was really little. I was really little when the Garbage Pail Kids were a big thing. But basically, Cabbage Patch Kids, right? You guys know the little dolls? Yeah. They were like these drawings of the Cabbage Patch Kids, but they were like, covered in trash and shit. And I just realized that nothing what I was talking about. But Cabbage Patch Kids is actually what I was thinking of. But people would say the Cabbage Patch Kids were demonic too. And a friend of mine was telling me a few months ago, her parents were convinced that her Cabbage Patch doll was possessed by demons. They were convinced of this. And
I feel like that was a general rumor to have around your Cabbage Patch doll if you had one.
That was just really? Okay.
It's probably haunted.
They have creepy eyes or something like that.
Dolls in general.
There's something unsettling about a Cabbage Patch girl. I can tell you that.
There's got to be a soul in there for sure.
That's some Chucky shit. And so they were gonna get rid of it and burn it or something. And she convinced her parents as like an 8-year-old, well, can we just like leave it in the garage or something and make sure it's fine? And they eventually got over the demon thing. But grown ass adults believing there's a demon in a doll, it's wild. Kayla, and my guess is the one that you were thinking of is a little series called Harry Potter. Is that
a little series called Harry Potter?
Yes,
I was. My mom sold. I was one of those like Harry Potter was all I had. Okay, so I was allowed to read them at first, and it came out like I think I was like 10 when the first book came. Well, it was like really popular, and so I had like stood in line. I had like a great set of books, and when I went to the Haven, my mom sold them because they weren't allowed. They were like it was something that my parents were like purging out of. It was with my bad stuff, but even like from like 15 till I was at the Haven, I had to hide my Harry Potter books. Like, so it was already banned in the house, but there was no separating me and Potter.
Harry Potter was a big discussion in church, at least for mine. It was an announcement.
Yeah. They preached about it. Yeah. All the time. And Pastor Carden had a particular
what did he say
about Harry Potter?
What did he say?
I remember like some of us teens trying to like come up with an argument, and we were like we made this like big comparison to Lord of the Rings, which we were allowed to read.
Yep, decent
Harry
argument.
Potter and like the good and evil and all that stuff. And I just remember Pastor Garnhan wouldn't even hear us. Like we weren't even getting one foot through the door, and we had like worked really hard. But yeah, he just said it was like not the same as of the devil. It was Harry Potter. It was magic. It was witchcraft. They
were hell bent on his scar, saying that was like that's another sign of the mark of the beast.
Yeah, like looking for all these like weird analogies, and it was like weed. It was like a gateway drug to other hard fiction. I don't know. Like it was. It was
You're
very
gonna
weird.
let me watch Star Wars, okay?
That's so
Yeah.
fucking lazy, right? It's just like,
Mm.
yeah, like half children's fiction involves magic. So
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college is when this was going on,
Mhm.
and of course, antagonistic college students, whenever this thing came up, the magic argument fell apart immediately. Fuck you. Like, there's magic everywhere. There's magic in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has tons of
Mhm.
magic, and you guys love that shit. So
Yeah.
I remember being in a class, and one of my teachers, like lit, was talking about it. And we made the magic argument. It's bulletproof. You can't really beat it. And his whole thing was, well, I think Harry Potter is wrong because Harry Potter is always rewarded for his bad behavior. His bad behavior is in he breaks the rules of the school and he becomes the hero of the story, even though. And I was like,
To save the world.
get the fuck out! I know, right?
Defeat Voldemort.
It was just so lazy. And what's wild about this is that this was a commonplace belief. What is this? 20 years ago. Now nobody believes it. Nobody. Apparently, it didn't matter at all. But still, literally millions of people would like you said, take books from their children because they believe this shit. Not real after all. And the snitching thing, this is just a side story that I remember that happened to me when I was in college. So when I was in college, it was still the fairly early days of the internet. You know, most people had it by this time, by 2000, but it was a very primitive version of it. And we would, wait forever for these websites to load. And I was in college at our library at Maranatha Baptist University. And we were on the bottom floor of the library where we had like, these little cubby holes with the students working on computers and stuff. So me and two of my boys, we were, yeah, I know. That's right. Well, it's important to the story. And so it's because it had walls, around it.
Yeah.
And so me and two of my boys were working on the computer, and we went to this website called hoopstv.com. And hoopstv.com, it had updates on like NBA players, NBA scores, basketball in general. It had two sections adjacent to the basketball part. The first one was called, I think, Hot Rods, I think. It started with an H. It was about cars. It may not have been Hot Rods, but something like that. And the second one was called Honeys. And so we went to,
Hot Rods and Honeys.
I know, right? I think it was an HH.
Hot Rods and Honeys.
Yeah, right. Because it had to flow with the H theme. I couldn't remember what the car. And so we went to the one for Honeys, and it was just like bikini girls, like a whole page full of them. And so we're waiting for this.
Immediately.
Huh? I know, right?
Hell, immediately.
That's our fourth H. But and so we were scrolling through like really slow, whatever. And unbeknownst to us, there was this girl. She was old. She looked like she was a senior. She was like, we were freshmen, whatever. And she kind of stood up out of nowhere, and we just jumped because she saw exactly what we were doing and what we were looking at, and we froze. We were just petrified in fear. And she's like, guys, I don't care. And then she walked away. I don't know that girl's name. I don't know where she is these days, but
shout out to her.
Shout out to her. She could have gotten
hope
all
you're
three of
thriving,
us.
Girl.
Yeah,
I know. I hope you're doing well. I open an open invitation to this show. If you're out there, if you're that random girl. You're roughly 45 years old by now, but just contact me. I'd love to hear you.
Just like let them boys live.
I know, right?
Have
it's like
their hoops and their honeys.
And their honeys.
Like, I ain't got time.
They've got time for hell.
Oh my God! Because